In previous videos, I have addressed various potential explanations or partial explanations for prosocial behavior, why humans help other humans. In this video, I'm going to talk about empathy. Now, you may already know what empathy is. You might need a refresher. Empathy is this quality you develop somewhere in childhood for most people, where you can picture yourself in someone else's situation. You can imagine someone's situation and you have particular feelings towards them based on being able to see yourself in them or imagine what you would be feeling in that particular situation. You have to understand other people to have this sense of empathy. Now, empathy can lead to prosocial behavior when people are in situations where you imagine yourself in that situation and you think, hey, if I was in that situation, I'd want to get out of it. I would want assistance. So sometimes you may engage in self-sacrificing behavior. You may offer assistance. You may put yourself in harm's way or go into considerable inconvenience for yourself to help others simply because you have this sense of empathy. And so this leads us to the empathy altruism hypothesis. The empathy altruism hypothesis proposes that feelings of compassion create a purely altruistic motivation to help. Remember, pure altruism versus egoistic altruism. Are you helping simply because you feel you need to help, or are you helping because you get something out of it in some way? All right, so this is meant to explain pure altruism, or at least partially explain it. And so you see someone who needs help, you can imagine what it's like for that person, you put yourselves in their shoes, you feel compassion, you help them because you can understand, you can imagine what it must be like for that person and what it would be like if they did not receive your help. Now, the thing about empathy isn't enough. Having a high degree of empathy does not necessarily mean that you will help. There are other factors too that are very essential, and one of them is, first of all, you have to be capable of helping. If you don't have the means to help, if somebody is in a burning building on the 7th floor and you have no way to get to them, you may be filled with empathy for that person. You may really want them to get the help, but you can't do it because you don't have the means. You don't have the ability to help them. You also need to be able to, you need to perceive, you need to see, you need to think that the help will benefit the person. Sometimes you sense that if you try to help, it will not be received well, it will be ineffective. You may sense that you are, like, if you want to comfort somebody, you might suspect that, well, my words may not be particularly comfortable. I could try to get someone out of this dangerous hole that they've fallen into, but I know I'm not strong enough, so my help may be ineffective. And then also you have to perceive that your help will be more beneficial than someone else's help. So like in that situation, if you are like, hey, I'm trying to get this person out of that hole, and then someone who looks like Thor or Steve Rogers from the Marvel universe, they come up and they're like, hey, let me help. And you're like, oh, you do it. You will be much more effective than I will. Or you're trying to comfort somebody and you have a friend, you know that they're just really good with that. They are skilled at caring, concerned words and condolences. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to let you do it because you're really good at this. This is your thing. All right, so those factors are important too, but empathy can be a strong motivator. Empathy, at the very least, it gets you paying attention to, okay, so if these other factors are present, I need to help, I need to get that person out of that situation because I'm imagining myself there and I know it would be horrible because I have empathy. We also have studied the empathy altruism hypothesis in studies where people were seemingly delivered electric shock. Yes, we have lots of studies in psychology where we like to give electric shock or pretend like we are giving people electric shock. We don't actually do that much. And so they wanted to see if participants would volunteer to trade places. All right, so the behavior on its own doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, well, nobody wants to get shocked. Nobody wants to experience pain. But if you think of it from an empathy perspective, that behavior does make more sense. Like, okay, well, I don't like this, but I also know that this other person wouldn't like this, and you don't want to think about them in that situation. And so they had no compensation. There was no reward other than they knew they got to get the other person out of the situation, and then they would take their place and not actually get shocked, but they thought they were volunteering to get shocked. So that is one study that has addressed the empathy altruism hypothesis. This again, it's another potential explanation for prosocial behavior. And probably we're leading up to the point where which one of these is right? They probably all come together, just like a lot of things that we study in the social sciences. We find out that a lot of explanations give you part of the truth or part of the possible truth in any given situation. So it may be like we've talked about reducing negative states as a motivation for prosocial behavior. Maybe empathy combines with negative state reduction, where you say, okay, so I can imagine this person's situation, I feel empathy for them, I feel bad, I have a negative emotional state because of that, I want to reduce my negative emotional state. And also the norms are that I'm supposed to help because the norms are that you have a social responsibility to help other people. And then also from the evolutionary perspective, hey, you know, our society benefits if we help each other. Our species can survive if we help each other. And if you are genetically related to that person, you're definitely going to want to help them out because of what we talked about when we talked about the evolutionary perspective. So all of these things can come together to contribute to our understanding of why do we help other people? Why would we do that?